case. This is all about, what did he say? A difficult situation. We're asking police to do dangerous. Yes, we are. We know that. It's a matter of police brutality. I think it's okay. So he says it's not a matter of police brutality. What's happening in Baltimore? He says I think it's a matter of society. Oftentimes, asking police to do things they're not trained to do. And Bill O'Reilly says racial persecution really isn't the problem in Baltimore. It's personal behavior. Sean Hannity, lesson of Freddie Gray's death is don't run at 8:30 in the morning when you see a cop. You hear that, you guys? Sean Hannity says, hey, if you run from a cop, you should have your neck broken. Don't run, or you're going to get your neck broken. That's what he believes. That's right. That's just. Fucking idiot. I hate these gay motherfucking racist bitches. I mean, at least if you're gay, that's fine, but you got to admit it. Hannity hides it. He's the gayest man I've ever seen on TV. He's more gay than Anderson Cooper, who is admittedly gay. Speaking of Anderson Cooper, I've got a little treat for you guys today. One you probably weren't ready for, but you're going to get it anyway. Here it goes.
Protesters and police facing off tonight in the streets of Baltimore. Several hundred people hitting the streets this evening demanding answers in the death of Freddie Gray, who sustained fatal injuries in police custody. Now, whether you agree or disagree with their view of the Baltimore police force, there's no disputing this. At this point, there are many questions surrounding what happened and not many answers. You just heard that from the mayor herself. Once again, Miguel Marquez joins us tonight from the protest. Miguel?
A lot of anger here in the streets of Baltimore, West Baltimore tonight. Protesters on the move again. They're now moving from the Western District Police Station back, I believe, to where Mr. Gray was arrested. There are so many questions, though, about the timeline. The police released a timeline early on, but then they said that Mr. Gray was the van he was in stopped once. It turns out they stopped twice. People here want answers to those very serious questions.
And we want them now.
Baltimore police say Freddie Gray's transport from arrest to ambulance took not one stop, but three, a long route and a long time before officers apparently realized Gray was seriously injured. His family coming out publicly for the first time today. This map shows where Gray was arrested, where he was initially placed in a police van, screaming in pain, his legs apparently not fully functional.
His legs look broke. Look at his legs.
At 8:45 a.m., police make their first stop at Baker and Mount Streets. Just around the corner from where Gray's arrested. They shackle his legs, then two more stops. Police drive Gray to 1100 Druid Avenue, they say to check on his condition. Then they drive him back to where they first saw Gray on that day on North Avenue to pick up another prisoner. Only then do they drive Gray to the Western District Police Station where an ambulance is called. Police say that time is 9:24 a.m. A lawyer for the Gray family disputes the police timeline.
They don't know when he was injured.
The 25-year-old died Sunday, 1 week after falling into a coma following arrest by Baltimore police. The witness who shot this video of the arrest and does not want to be identified says before he started recording, police were being physically tough with Gray.
They had Freddie Gray bent up into what I would like to call a pretzel type of move, where they had the heels of his feet to his back, and then he was still in handcuffs, and then they had the knee like in the back of his neck.
We're going to check back in with Miguel Marquez throughout this hour as the protests continue. Joining us now, CNN legal analyst Sunny Hostin. She's a former federal prosecutor. She's worked in the Baltimore area, and we should also mention is friends with Baltimore's mayor. Also, forensic expert Lawrence Kobylski of New York's John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and retired New York police detective Harry Hauk. Sunny, I mean, it's been 10 days and still not a lot of answers. Does that surprise you?
It does surprise me, quite frankly, because you have sort of the spotlight on Baltimore, and you now have 6 officers that have been suspended. And I feel at this point we have very little information. We're talking about a man who was fined before police custody and then suffered a tragic, fatal injury. How is it possible that we don't know more? That just doesn't make sense to me. And I think it's giving everyone this sense of an opaqueness, of a lack of transparency in this investigation. And while I understand that everyone wants to get it right, I think it's time that we provide answers.
Professor Kobylski, 3 fractured vertebrae, says the family attorney, and a crushed voice box. What does that tell you about what went on?
It's a little difficult to understand. I don't see how he could have yelled and spoken if the larynx had actually been crushed. I will say this, though.
This is a dumb question. Are we talking about the Adam's apple?
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes. The vocal cords reside in there. But, the issue for me is that the damage to the cord, the spinal cord, could have occurred either in a one-step or a two-step situation. If the vertebrae had been fractured and displaced, that could have severed the cord in one shot. On the other hand, had the fractures taken place, and then subsequent to that Freddie Gray had been transported and his head perhaps underwent rotation or lateral movement or something else, the fractured vertebrae could have severed the cord. So it could have happened in two stages. But it does appear to me that the initial trauma occurred before he entered the van.
Harry, I talked to the mayor about the initial interaction that led to the police running after Mr. Gray. She says she doesn't see evidence of probable cause. There had been a report about possibly seeing the clip of a switchblade in his pocket or of a knife. Exactly what is required for probable cause?
Okay, so you hear what's going on here. We're getting into a very microcosmic view of this event, which tonight's show was kind of a macro view on racism and police brutality. But I want to get into this because oftentimes when you pull out a microcosmic tidbit or two from a microcosmic view situation, you can sort of apply that to the general. It's often a condensed version of what's happening everywhere. Now, the police are saying, at least initially, that they saw a clip in this man's pocket that was consistent with the clip that would be on a switchblade, the switchblade being in his pocket. Okay, now I listened to an interview on the Russia Today or Russian Times, the one Apocalypse listens to. I think he may be secretly communist, but don't tell him that because he lives in Arizona and that could create a problem. But anyway, and it's bullshit. And this guy, this I can't remember if he was ex-Department of Justice, something or another, said, we used to carry stuff on us just in case, so that if something happened, we could plant it on people. And he was a cop. Now, I'm not saying that's common. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But let me tell you this. Do you really think these police saw this black guy, looked at his waist, and said, aha, there's a little clip. That's not a pocket protector. That's not a pocket protector. That's not a pair of fingernail clippers. That must be a spring-activated switchblade knife. Well, we're going to hear a little about that now. You don't need
probable cause to make a stop. You need what's called reasonable suspicion. And the officer's reasonable suspicion, based on reports that I've read, that they saw the clip for the knife in his front pocket. That's their story. Okay? So based on that, they made a stop. He ran, and the officers engaged him.
There's so many. Do you buy that? There are a lot of people. We had Mark Aragos on this program last night saying, "Look, come on." Maybe they found the knife afterward and said, "Okay, well, we saw the clip of the knife."
I rarely agree with Mark Aragos, but I agree with him on that. You would have to have X-ray vision, right, to see a knife in someone's right front pocket. I do, however, think that if someone is running in a high crime area, that would give the police officers reasonable suspicion, perhaps to pursue, perhaps to stop, perhaps to frisk. But I still don't understand after that if, in fact, the knife was legal. I don't understand how it ends up in an arrest. And even if there is an arrest, if the knife was illegal, which some knives in Maryland are, because I'm a Maryland lawyer as well.
Switchblades, I think, are illegal.
Switchblades, no matter how big they are illegal.
If it was a switchblade or a spring action knife, we don't know for sure. If that's the case, I still don't understand how the police report indicates that the arrest was without incident or force, and you have a dead man. So regardless of why he was stopped, I don't understand why he's dead.
Harry, explain. You used to work internal affairs in New York, among many other assignments. I talked to the mayor about the police officers' Bill of Rights, which which gives them a period of time to make a statement. You and I were talking during the break, and you were saying, look, they have the rights as everybody else to even not make a statement.
Exactly. I don't know exactly what their Bill of Rights down there, what their union does, but it's saying up here in New York, if an officer's involved in something where there might be some kind of criminal charges against him, all right, he doesn't say anything. That's where you got detectives could conduct the investigation. Now, attorneys will come right in there for those police officers, and they'll tell them to keep their mouth shut, and they'll talk to them.
But does a police officer, I mean, let's talk about New York since that's where you were, does a police officer in New York have to immediately, though, fill out a report detailing step by step what happened in this arrest, or no, they don't?
No. I mean, if he feels that this report can somehow harm him, all right, there's other officers on the scene, there's other parts of the investigation, detectives coming on the scene to conduct the investigation. The lawyers are going to tell him, keep your mouth shut. Just like anybody else, police officers are afforded the same rights as anyone else.
So that's one of the reasons perhaps why, I mean, the mayor doesn't have the full facts of what's happened because, as she said in the interview, they haven't been able to get statements from all the officers.
They haven't been able to get statements. And I think, you know, when you talk about legislation and the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, people have been trying to reform those rights because of this very reason. I do believe...
But you still can't stop
But
that.
I do believe that that an officer who arrests someone should be able to fill out the police incident report. As a matter of course, Harry, you know that police incident reports are always filled out after an arrest. Why is it now that these officers don't have to fill out a police incident report, especially after someone has died in their custody?
Because of the possibility of them being prosecuted, just like anybody else.
And that's why there's
And the whole thing is this Bill of Rights. This Bill of Rights is not going to take away the rights of a police officer. They can change those Bill of Rights all they want. He still has the right to remain silent. He has the basic rights that every American in this country has.
We've got to take a short break. We'll have more with Harry and Sonny and Lawrence Kopolinsky. Stay with us. We'll be check also back with you a little bit later in the hours. We continue to follow developments in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'll just talk over him for a sec. We'll see how that works out. Maybe I'll just talk along with him. Let me change the volume settings here.
Answers and what they say is justice in the death of Freddie Gray. Billy Murphy is one of the attorneys representing Mr. Gray's family. He joins me now. Mr. Murphy, thanks for being with us. I know you had hoped to get both the autopsy report and Mr. Gray's body returned to the family by now. Do you have any indication when police will share the report with you and release his body?
None whatsoever, and an expedited autopsy under these circumstances is fairly rare.
For the officers involved in Mr. Gray's arrest, what do you want to see happen with them with respect to them?
Well, it's too early to do anything except speculate about the degree to which any one of them in particular is involved in this case. What we want is justice. We don't want to rush to justice. And we're willing to be patient to let these investigations play out so that we can get everything exactly right.
I talked to the mayor at the top of this broadcast, and she said she, doesn't see evidence of probable cause in the initial apprehension of Mr. Gray, and she also clearly does not have all the information that she would like to have. What do you make of the fact that 10 days after the arrest and death of Mr. Gray, there still isn't a complete set of facts here?
Well, I applaud the mayor for admitting that there's no probable cause here. There isn't. Running while black is not a crime, and there's no such thing as felony running. And a good argument can be made that the only thing this kid did that was wrong was he didn't run fast enough. If there was ever a case to justify in the future why black people in the inner city should run from the police, this is the case. And number two, the mayor is at the mercy of the police. And all of us are skeptical about whether the police can accurately and honestly investigate themselves, especially given the long history of them not doing that and covering up these kinds of brutality incidents. And thank God for video cell phones, because that makes this a new day. And this points to the urgent need for police cameras, because you can argue that this would not have happened had these police been wired up with cameras that recorded their movements in these situations.
The Department of Justice announced today they're officially looking into Mr. Gray's death, looking for any civil rights violations. Have you been able to talk with the family about that investigation, what the Department of Justice might be able to accomplish?
The family welcomes a new set of eyes, and they especially trust Eric Holder in light of his past performance on these kinds of issues. And so they welcome this investigation with open arms.
Billy Murphy, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. Back with our panel, Sonny Hostin, Lawrence Kopolinsky, and Harry Hauk. Sonny, in terms of this investigation, where does it go from here?
You know, I think Billy Murphy makes a very important point. I am uncomfortable with the Baltimore Police Department investigating this, investigating its own. We've seen time